hills and valleys of South Wales. Before the final stage on the streets of the City of London. It promises to be quite a carnival along the route, so do come out and join us, bring the banners and flags to the roadside and give us a cheer. You can find further information on the PruTour website, www.prutour.co.uk, or if you have a touch-phone telephone, ring 01189 645 600. Standard rates apply. The mighty royal castle of Stirling towers above some of the most important battlefields in Scotland's history, and the place has been described as a huge brooch clasping the Highlands and the Lowlands together. This is the scene for the opening prologue time trial. The course is a swift 4.2 kilometres, starting in the main town and finishing outside the castle. The riders will depart at 1-minute intervals. Best time will take the leader's red jersey. And among those looking to storm the ramparts, we're delighted to have Chris Boardman, twice a winner of the Prologue in the Tour de France. He'll be the last man to go, and he's under no illusions as to the difficulties here.
Today's my best chance of success on the Prologue circuit. It's all perfect for me bar the finish, not too technical, but this cobbled climb is really going to be the most testing part of the course for me personally. Up against some of the best, or one of the best Prologue riders in the world in Vyacheslav Ekimov. So he's no slouch, and it's going to be very, very difficult to do. It's one of those good ones to watch, horrible ones to ride.
And Chris Boardman will be the last of the 108 riders to start, but a few moments ago this man arrived at the finishing line, and is Dariusz Baranowski, the Polish time trial champion for the US Postal Service team, and this was a big surprise, under the banner in 6:11, but that time rounded up a few moments ago to 6 minutes 13 seconds. Still, it's the best time on the board, 7 seconds better than Laurent Lefebvre of France. And the two bright voice boys, Chris Walker and Chris Newton, they're both in and commanding high finishes too, in 3rd and 4th place. Now, Matt Illingworth down on the bottom, and here's the left turn. This is where the pain starts. It's 1,000 metres to the summit. This lovely smooth road in a minute will turn into cobblestones, and every rider that came to check the course out this morning was shocked by the severity of this finish.
They certainly were, and it really is a difficult circuit to judge, because you go out flat out on the opening pass of the course. You're using the biggest gear that you have, trying to ride at a speed of approaching 31, 32 miles an hour. Then when you turn this left-hand corner here and you come up to the final climb up to the castle, you've got to change to right to the other end of your cluster, because then you've got to try and find a low gear and keep the speed going as high as possible. But once you start to lose momentum, then you hit the cobblestones, which is just about where Matt Illingworth is getting to now.
Well, he's going to have to hold his rhythm here and try and pull the best out of those big legs. He comes from a cycling family, because Mum Anne also was a great cyclist in her day, and she's watched Matt develop into be a very good international bike rider. Now, the team that Matt rides for, the Bright Voice team, has had a tremendous start to the year in Great Britain, losing only one major race, and one has to say that was all because Chris Newton fell off in sight of the flag. Otherwise, they'd have won them all. Now he's stomping onto the cobbles, or he isn't in fact, Paul, because like all the bike riders, he's tried to find that little bit of smooth road on the left, and that will make for a quick time. But he's not, I don't think, well, let's see how close he is, because we haven't had a time check at all on him on the climb. He's aiming at the time of Dariusz Baranowski, which is 6 minutes and 30 seconds. And now he'll get his first glimpse in a matter of yards at the finishing line. He still looks as though he's got some strength.
Well, he does. The time on the finish line here at the moment is 5 minutes and 54 seconds, so he's going to push it, but he's still around about 15 seconds from the finish line, and this could well be the best time so far, Phil, because he's still got a lot of energy.
This is a tremendous finish. Well, Illingworth, we thought, would produce the goods, but we thought Baranowski's time was going to be a little bit too good, and it might be just that, a little bit too good, because Illingworth comes in second place, 6:14.967, but whichever way you look at it, Matt Illingworth has produced the goods there. That was a great ride.
9-6.
Well, getting the countdown at the start house is George Hincapie, the US Postal Service. He's got good form. He had a very good Tour de Loire in France just a couple of weeks ago, weekends ago. And this is still Chad Gerlach here out on the course, Paul. And he's riding here for the Oil Me team, which is a new team for me. I've never seen the riders in action as a team in this squad before, but they had a pretty successful Tour of Langkawi right out in February. I think it was 3 stages they won.
They won 3 stages down there with Roberto Gaggioli, who's also riding the PruTour this year. And in fact, this team was thrown together at the very last minute, so it was a great surprise for them to have so much success. One of the men responsible for bringing the Linda McCartney brand into cycling is Mark Walsham, wearing number 61 at the moment, one of the ambassadors of British cycling, and certainly putting in a very creditable ride.
This man always puts in a creditable ride. He's a terrific competitor, a great performer, and the backbone of British professional bike riding. Mark Walsham, so often a medalist when it matters, and another solid performance from Mark here to get him on the open road tomorrow. 36 at the moment, and just 42 seconds off the pace. Now waiting for the start, and the next man that should come up in the start house will be John Clay of the Bright Voice team, and he is a rider a lot of people are thinking can pull out the surprise today. He is having a tremendous season, 7 big wins already for Johnny Clay, including the Travel-Wise Tour of Lancashire and the Girvan 3-day here in Scotland. Back to the finishing line, George Hincapie. Well, there's been rumours all around the course that George has been doing a good ride. Now, has he kept the pace on up the climb here? The big man from Charlotte in the United States, and look at the clock, and Baranowski is going to be run very close here by his teammate, and this will be a surprise. Hincapie tipped in fact Ekimov to win. He's still to come. Hincapie, best time 6 minutes 10 seconds. He's more than 3 seconds better than Baranowski. Well, he's had good form in the last few days as George Hincapie, and he certainly delivered on the climb today. This is now the new overall situation. Hincapie is top by 3 seconds over Baranowski, and in third place now is Matthew Illingworth. So everything to race for the late starters. The top teammate now of Chris Boardman, Stuart O'Grady, and this is a rider many feel can win this tour overall, and I wonder if he can, because O'Grady is such a strong man from Australia, former world champion. Johnny Clay is now out on the course. He's pounding up the hills towards the finish, and he is still going very, very well indeed. Well, I tell you what, he's not very far from the summit now, and then we'll get some idea what he's likely to do. He's aiming now at the time of George Hincapie from Charlotte, and 6 minutes 10.38 is the time at the moment. And he still looks as though there's plenty of effort coming out of that body as he comes up the climb. He's giving it everything he can. His bike, in fact, is giving it so much he's losing a little bit of traction on those cobbles. Time by Hincapie is 6 minutes and 10 seconds. I don't think he's going to get that, Paul, because we can see the clock out of the window, and 6:10 has gone by now. So as we start the climb here now, or finish the climb rather, he's going to finish in 6:21 for Clay, 12 seconds at a 5th best time. He might be a little disappointed, but I'm not too sure. Anyway, one man now we've got with Graham Jones is the man who has socked it to them at the moment, George Hincapie. Well done, George. Over to you, Graham.
George, fastest time so far. Did you expect you were doing such a good ride?
I heard my director, you know, he was following me. He said I was 2 seconds up on Darius, and Darius is a really good hill climber, so I just knew that I had to like keep a good pace up the climb. But I tell you, there's no pacing up this climb. No matter how easy or how hard you go up the bottom, these last 300 meters or 200 meters are just hell. No matter any way you look at it, there's no pacing up that thing.
This man we're looking at, Stuart O'Grady, he knows how to pace himself. He's used to performing at over 4 or 5 minutes.
Well, let's see how he handles the hill. This is the easy part of the climb before you realise it gets harder. And O'Grady climbing this at a nice steady tempo. A lot of power is coming out of those big legs. He is a medalist in the Olympic Games in 1996. He is also a Commonwealth Games champion. He's actually a very, very good track rider, former world champion on the track as well. But he's a rider who is gradually developing towards becoming a top road racing cyclist, especially in the single-day classics. And we go to a very familiar face around the world over the years, that of Sean Yates. 12 times a rider in the Tour de France. On one magic day in 1994, he pulled on the leader's yellow jersey. Well, this is Stuart O'Grady now coming up towards the finish. He's absolutely powering over the cobbles.
He's riding very close indeed to those pavements at the side there, keeping on the smooth part here. You can see the concentration in his face here. He's looking for a very good time indeed, but as you can see now, Phil, the gears started to get just a little bit too big for him. He may well have overestimated his own power. As he comes round the corner, though, the clock says 6:06, So it's going to be very close on the time of George Hincapie.
I tell you what, can he sprint? Because he's going to have to sprint to get it here. O'Grady already slipping away behind George Hincapie. He's now slipping away into 4th place, but it's going to be a high finish for Stuart O'Grady. 6:19, he'll slot in 4th place with that time. And again, George Hincapie has told us it's very difficult to measure your effort. And looking down now at the moment at Sean Yates as he now gets underway. Well, he's actually been out of the international scene for a season and a half. He was settling into domestic affairs, winning many races, the current 50-mile time trial champion in Britain. But I bet he never thought he was going to turn up racing against Tour de France riders again.
Absolutely remarkable. Actually, I called him on Thursday night when I heard the news, and I said, Sean, what's going on? I thought you were supposed to be retired. He said, well, you know, I've set up my own gardening business, but I just wanted to see how I could measure myself against the other guys on the international scene. And a lot of riders are interested to see how Yates is going to perform on the longer stages, because he hardly does any road training at all nowadays. He trains at home in his garage every evening on a home trainer. But a man everyone wants to see racing in Great Britain is Neil Stevens. You know, this man has been one of the great domestiques of the Tour de France over recent years. Used to ride for the Once squad, but since turning towards Festina, he has put in some great performances, and everybody remembers that win of his last year when he celebrated by cradling his baby across the line. Here you see, though, it is starting to pay a little bit the fact that Sean has been out of top competition for a year and a half. He's very close to the win, but this is the part where you need the extra few pounds of energy.
But you see, Yates is still a great rider away from international competition. This will be the 2nd season, and he's still living with the best. He stomps his way up to the mountain, gets a terrific applause off the crowd here. Crosses the line, 14th at the moment. He even raises a cheer. He is such a popular bike rider. 26 seconds off the speed of George Hincapie.
Well, if one man really can knock George Hincapie off the top of the leaderboard, it's his own teammate, the man in the starting gate now, Yaroslav Ekimov, former world hour record holder with the amateurs, a world champion in the pursuit on the track, and certainly a very good time trialist.
So Yaroslav Ekimov, once the holder of 11 world titles at the same time, is underway. That's the situation overall, with Baranowski in 2nd place, 3 seconds. Illingworth is 3rd. We'll take a quick break. And welcome back. We're covering live here the first stage of the PruTour, a 4.2 kilometers prologue time trial, with the whole field going at 1-minute intervals, and we are coming down now to the top riders in the event. Rob Hales is one of those riders, former British champion, a reigning British champion in fact as well, and Rob Hales now making his start, and we really feel that Rob could surprise. Well, while Rob Hales has made his start, Neil Stevens is approaching the finish, and here he comes. So Stevens is stomping up the mountain as well. He looks as though he really is finding his form now. He's suffered from a problem with his tendons. He's had operations. Now he's on a proof test here in the PruTour. 6:24.52 for him, and that doesn't keep him too far off the pace. In fact, for Neil, that's a very, very good performance. It hasn't altered the overall situation. Neil coming in at 7th place there. And Hincapie still the leader, Baranowski at 3 seconds, and Matt Illingworth is 3rd. Right, let's go back down to Graham Jones, because I think now, Graham, you've got Sean Yates with you.
Sean, a surprise late entry to the PruTour. What made you want to come back?
I thought, you know, it was probably my last opportunity to race against the pros. It was basically a too good opportunity to miss, and I got, you know, called up by the Lyndon McCartney team. It's great to be associated with them, because all the money goes to charities, and she fought for a lot of good causes, so I thought, you know, it was worthwhile for me to come and try and help that cause.
Thank you, Graham. And there he is in the start house, the man that we hope will turn the result upside down, Chris Boardman. He is a bag of nerves because his form has not been good this year. He's been sick. And in fact, he has had not a great deal of worthwhile performances, except, Paul, he's given us a good hint in the Criterium International, Tour Romandy. He's still a great time trial rider.
He still is a great time trial rider. The seconds ticking away for him now for what is going to be a very important 4.2 kilometre test. He's still trying to qualify for the World Championships on the pursuit later this year, but a great ride by him could really pull him back up. Now Ekimov is not going to beat his own teammate, Phil. Coming round the corner there, he slipped away from the time of 6 minutes 10 seconds set by Hincapie.
Well, George Hincapie said Ekimov would probably win this. If he didn't, then it would be Boardman, and Hincapie himself has beaten Ekimov. This is a turn up for the book. This is the Russian champion coming up to the line now. Vyacheslav Ekimov crosses the line, and he's only in 10th place. He will not be happy with that. So Ekimov, 6:28, and concedes 18 seconds to his US Postal Service teammate, George Hincapie. Now, let's get alongside Chris Boardman. Remember, these are live pictures of Chris in action, and Chris is going to know almost immediately whether it's happening or not, isn't he?
He certainly will. Once he gets out there and covers the first kilometre of this course, he'll know just exactly how he is. This first little part of the course here, he has one small climb to negotiate. Now he gets onto the very fast 3 kilometre section in between the start and the bottom of the climb. This is the normal position that Chris Boardman will adopt. Right behind him in the team car is his team manager, Roger Leger. They've worked very closely together. They're trying to get Boardman back into some kind of form to go forward to look at the Tour de France. At the moment, Phil, he's going very fast.
Well, everybody likes Chris Boardman. He has done so much for British cycling. He came to the fore with the Olympic Championship in 1992, and he is doing very, very well here at the moment. Now he's settling in. Well, let's pick up Rob Hales, because news is reaching us that Hales is almost equal to George Hincapie's time at the halfway point. There's virtually nothing in it, Paul, so it's a question of who climbs the hill best at the moment between Hales and Hincapie for the race lead.
And the advantage that Hales has, Phil, is here is a time trialist. He is a specialist. He's a very good man at these short, fast, explosive events. What he has to do now, though, is make sure that he's dosed his effort perfectly. He has to keep a little bit under his belt for this last climb up to the finish. But he does look to me, Phil, as if he's starting to suffer as the road tilts upwards.
Oh, I can feel the pain from here, Paul. Look at the way those legs are going on the climb. Now, Rob Hales has had a brilliant start to the season. He really is a tremendous future hope for British cycling. He rides the track with tremendous success as well. But, you know, this long climb to the finish, had this been a flat race, I would have tipped Hales to have won this race. But on this climb, which goes on and on towards the gates of Stirling Castle, I think this may cost Rob Hales, and the experience of George Hincapie may prove best.
It may well prove best, but also don't forget the last man out on the road, Chris Boardman, is a very experienced time trialist. He knows exactly how to dose his effort, as we're still looking at the face of Rob Hales trying to pick it up in the easier part in the middle section of the course here. In fact, he still has the energy left, and he's lifted his pace just a little bit coming round the corner and looking for a fast finish. We're around about 6 minutes on the finish line now, so everything is going to be very close.
So we're still very, very close here. There's the time of Hales. Hincapie is below, but it's an awful long way to the line, although he can see it. There's the line. Rob Hales is going to be desperately close, but he's on the other side of Hincapie now. Now, can he finish up near the leaders? Rapidly descending down the overall, as the seconds mean an awful lot in this opening prologue. Hales comes to the line now. 6th place for Rob, 7th on the line, 6:22.9. So the hill did, in fact, destroy Rob Hales' hope there, because he was on a par with George at the halfway. Back down the course and back to Chris Boardman with the news. 1 second quicker than George Hincapie at the moment. As we now swing out onto the course here and look at David George, the first South African last year to win a road racing medal, which he did in the time trial in a world championship for his country. And George is coming up the hill here, but he too is highlighting the performance by Hincapie.
He certainly is. He's just going to show how well George Hincapie judged his effort over this 4.2 kilometre circuit, because he really did surprise everybody, and I would think himself as well. We're back now with Chris Boardman, and Boardman very much on the lower slopes of this climb, riding very well, out of the saddle, still strong, and he really hopes, I think, today that he can dislodge Hincapie from the top of the leaderboard. But it's all so important in the last 500 metres.
It's going to be desperate, but at the moment, looking at the pictures here, and obviously we can't feel out there what's going on, but he looks to have the rhythm. Now he's onto the cobblestones, and he is certainly holding his speed at the moment. Chris Boardman is looking very, very good to hold this race at the minute. 1 second up at the halfway point on George Hincapie. And Bourne, remember, is the last man on the course.
He's the last man to have a crack at taking the first leader's jersey in this year's PruTour, and Bourne looks very good, Phil. He doesn't look like he's weakening. He's picking his way right across the apexes of these corners, going at the straightest line possible. Still got the agility to pick up the smooth pavement at the side, and he may well just have done it, because the time now is round about 5 minutes and 40 seconds, so it's going to go very close.
He has literally flown up this hill. He's starting to hurt a little bit now for Chris Bourne, but he has climbed it so well. There's the finishing line now. You can see Paul Manning just ahead of him finishing. Chris Bourne is going to win this race. I feel certain of that, as he's aiming for the time of 6:10.38 for George Hincapie. Chris Bourne comes to the line. Ignore the clock. There it is now, and he hits the line. 6:08.68. The last is kept for the best. Chris Bourne has won the PruTour opening prologue, and that will mean a lot to Chris Paul.
And he's still going into the parking lot at the top of the climb here, trying to recover, and I think getting the news there from his soigneur that in fact he has put in the best time to win.
And this really is the result Chris Bourne wanted to see today, winning the stage from George Hincapie of the US Postal Service team by just 2 seconds. Hincapie's teammate Darius Baranowski took a great third place, 5 seconds back, and Matt Illingworth should be delighted with that 4th place, 6 seconds off the pace. Looking further down, Neil Stevens of Australia and Festina was 9th, 16 seconds back. Vyacheslav Yekimov, the Russian champion, a disappointed 12th, and Sean Yates making his comeback to big-time racing, taking a very creditable 19th. The last rider, by the way, was Sebastian Medon of the Festina team. He lost 1 minute and 45 seconds. And on the podium today, in the red jersey of the leader of the PruTour, is Chris Bourne. And this is what he really wanted, and this is how he did it. He stormed up on the cobblestones to the gateway of Stirling Castle. He stamped his authority on the Prologue time trial in a major race yet again. And now he's talking with Paul Sherwood.
There's certainly a lot of pressure on your shoulders this morning. They put you off the last man in the field, and you realised you had to do something special.
Yeah, when I received the #1 last night, I thought, oh my God, thanks very much. But I've long ago accepted, really, it's part of the job. You've just got to get on with it. Pressure is part of the job. Nobody likes it, but you can either deal with it or you can't. And today was touch and go whether I was dealing with it. I was very shaky at the start. The finish bit is actually the easy bit when you've got the line in sight. And today I can actually see the clock over the line and see those seconds ticking away. So, no, everything went really well, and I'm happy it's worked out.
The first leader's jersey of the PruTour, a new event in the UK.
Yeah, and everything I've seen up to now has been very, very impressive. The organisation has been very slick, and you can actually see in the detail the amount of organisation and work that's gone into this. So this is what we've got in store for us. I think we're all going to be very, very lucky. Hopefully this is going to help British cycling, obviously, and for me personally, it's a unique experience, and I'm going to try and enjoy every minute of it.
So the UK's premier bike race now has the UK's #1 rider on top of the leaderboard. But there are 8 days still to go, and the riders now go out onto the open highway. Stage 1 takes them 207 kilometres away from Edinburgh and down to Newcastle. For the moment, though, from Stirling, it's goodbye.